There is a certain kind of mistake that powerful people make when they feel too comfortable. They look at someone brilliant sitting quietly in a corner, doing work that holds everything together, and they convince themselves that person is replaceable, that the machine will keep running, that nobody is ever truly irreplaceable. It is the kind of arrogance that feels like confidence right up until the moment it destroys everything. And this story is about exactly that kind of mistake and exactly that kind of destruction. He was a genius. Not the loud, self-promoting kind that fills every room with their own noise. The quiet kind. The kind that solves problems at 2 in the morning that nobody else even understood were problems. He had given years to the company. His ideas, his code, his fingerprints were on nearly every system that made the business run. He was not just an employee. He was, in many ways, the engine underneath everything. But engines do not get credit. They just get used. And when the people at the top decided that keeping him was inconvenient, that his presence complicated certain plans, that he asked too many questions and knew too much, they let him go. Not quietly, not respectfully. They fired him in a way that was designed to humiliate, to discredit, to make sure he left with nothing he could use. What they did not account for was what he would build next. The weeks after the firing were not easy. That much the story does not hide. There is a specific kind of pain that comes from being betrayed by a place you genuinely believed in, and this was worse than a normal betrayal. Because mixed into the professional wound was something deeply personal. The person who had been closest to him inside that company. The one he had trusted with more than just work. The one he had quietly loved through long nights and shared meals and conversations that felt like they meant something. She had been part of it. Not a victim of what happened. A participant. She had chosen the company over him, chosen comfort and position over honesty, and in doing so had turned a professional injury into something that cut all the way down to the bone. He could have collapsed. Most people would have. Instead, he got very, very quiet. And then he got to work. The investor found him before he even had to go looking. Because genuine talent has a gravity to it. People who understand value can feel it, even when it is sitting in a rented apartment surrounded by empty coffee cups and open laptops. The pitch was not flashy. It did not need to be. He simply showed what he could build. And what he could build was something the industry had not seen before. An AI architecture so clean, so efficient, so far ahead of what anyone else was working on that the money arrived almost immediately. Not as charity, as a bet. A very confident bet. He built the company the way he had always wanted to, without the politics, without the layers of people protecting their own positions, without the culture of credit being stolen and talent being managed into silence. He built it around a single principle, that the work speaks, and the work is everything. And it grew. Quietly at first, then faster, then with a momentum that started making people in the industry uncomfortable, including the people who had fired him. They noticed when clients started leaving. They noticed when the talent pipeline dried up because people wanted to work for the new company instead. They noticed when their own systems started looking outdated next to what he was releasing. And somewhere in those boardrooms, someone must have said his name, with a very different expression than the one they wore the day they handed him his termination letter. As for her, the woman who had once been his first love and had chosen to let him fall, she was watching too. From inside a company that was slowly losing the race it did not even realize it had entered. The story does not give her an easy resolution. It does not pretend that betrayal is something that gets neatly forgiven just because time passes. What it does instead is something more honest. It shows what it costs to choose the wrong thing when it mattered, and how long that cost keeps collecting. This drama is not really about revenge. Revenge is too small a word for what happens here. It is about a man who was told he was nothing, and answered that quietly, methodically, and completely. They fired the wrong person. And the market, the industry, and everyone watching found out exactly